Juan on. All right, everybody. Nice to meet you, or nice to see you today. This is Tommy coming from Orlando today, Orlando, Florida. So, and then I have with me Juan and Julio, both from Medellin, our Medellin location. I believe we're going to talk today about ML and OCR, and basically kind of show how you can combine AI, OCR workflow into some intelligent processing. I believe Juan and Julio are going to walk through Nintex, and in this case, we're using Nintex on the back end, and they'll walk you through some of the OCR technologies, ML. I think it's important to understand when we built this product that you're about to see, it's really done in 3 steps. One is OCR, which is the scanning, and it really doesn't matter what the OCR is. If you don't have OCR, we certainly have a couple of tools that we really like. So everybody understands Kofax and Abby and the leaders, but there's also Highland's another good one. But there are some really new innovative products out in the marketplace that already have AI built into them. We can certainly talk to you about that. So that's the first component. Then after something's OCR'd, you need to be able to understand what kind of document type it is, and then be able to pull the information off of that document type. And for that, you can use AWS, you can do Azure. I believe this example we're showing you is Azure AI to actually strip the components out. And then once you've pulled that information off the document, you recognize the document type, you pull the information out, now you need to do something with it. And so we, in this case, are using Nintex to create workflows that will do stuff with the information. So it's really kind of a 3-part product that can be really used for all kinds of documents. We've used it for land management documents. We've used it for income statements. We've used it certainly for AP. We've used it for medical documents, medical transcripts, medical radiology documents. So it really can be used across a variety of the document types. Just a matter of training. And the one thing I do like about this versus a lot of the other products that are out there, and Grouper is one that we use quite a bit in oil and gas, is the one thing I like about this is you don't have to have templates, right? It's self-aware, and when you start running through, it's very effective. So a short overview of what we're going to talk today. I'm going to now turn it over to Julio and Juan, and I'm going to have them walk through the actual demo. And I appreciate you attending and look forward to any questions that you may have. Juan, Julio? Julio, you're on mute.
Thank you, Tommy. Hey, everyone. So as Tommy mentioned, today we are going to be talking about leveraging machine learning and OCR technologies to enhance the automation of document workflows and document management, right? We are gonna, in addition to showing a quick demo of how we combine Nintex workflow processes and machine learning towards creating a complete management and processing workflow, we are gonna be showing afterwards like some of the other cases and examples that we have created for other clients, for other scenarios like invoicing, like healthcare sample data, and so on. And today we are going to be talking Juan Barajas, who is our VPN specialist, and myself, Julia Concha, as CTO for Team International. The agenda for today, as mentioned, is we're going to be starting with Nintex workflow capabilities for talking a bit about Nintex workflow capabilities for approval processes. Then we are going to briefly be introducing how machine learning and computer vision plays a role in this. Then we are going to go straight into our scenario for the day, right? After we go with a demo where one is gonna walk you through like a sample application that we have created for this purpose. Afterwards, we'll be going over some of the machine learning OCR products that we have created, and finally there's gonna be like some time for if there are any questions at the end of the session. For starters, to give a quick intro, as mentioned, if you were in our previous session, we have been working with the Nintex K2 VPN platform. One of the key capabilities of this platform is the different set of components of out-of-the-box components that Nintex has to create and manage approval workflows, right? This allows us to easily include business logic, accountability, and safeguarding components within process automation, right? This allows us to create elements like being able to identify who are the key people that need to review information, who are the relevant users that need to be part of a process, even depending on the information that the document contains in this case, right? This ensures that the information that the requests are going straight to the users that are like the target audience. They don't go to everyone, but only to the target users or audience, depending on the business rules, and also allows us to have like accountability of the process in regards to being able to track or audit how the document, the information goes from all the way from its ingestion, its insertion, all the way up to the final process where it's approved or rejected and reasons for that decision. A key part of this approach, as mentioned, is being able to identify the relevant users and the role of each user within the automation process, right? Usually, you are going to have in this kind of document and processing, document management, and approval, you are going to have somebody that reviews the information within the document. Then usually there is also somebody that approves like the execution of the document. In the case of an invoice, somebody that approves a payment, right? Or there may be a business rule that basically indicates if the payment requires approval or not, depending on the amount. All of these conditions, all of these roles can be easily assigned and personalized and based on the requirements of each process, right? Managing or processing invoices is going to have one workflow. Processing an example that we have today with tax statements is going to have a different workflow. The workflow is determined by the needs of the document, and it doesn't need to be like a unique workflow for everything, right? You can customize it and adjust it as needed and include the roles that you require for each different process, right? This also gives the opportunity for the end users, the relevant or involved end users, to provide feedback, for example, to adjust information after the OCR process, as you are going to see in the sample, in the demonstration today. Or you can also, they can also leave notes, for example, approved with annotations for the next user to consider those notes as part of their decision making. All of this is possible by leveraging the workflow and process management capabilities that a platform like Nintex K2 has. Though keep in mind that, as Tommy mentioned, the workflow management, workflow automation is only one half of the equation. The second half of the equation corresponds to being able to use the proper the proper OCR technology to interpret the documents, right? As indicated in the stats, you can see in the slide, OCR is a pretty old technology. It's a pretty old solution. We are talking about the first patent for it was in the 1930s, right? For some time, it didn't change too much. However, with the advent of machine learning and computer vision advancements, this has taken new traction thanks to the fact that machine learning allows for OCR solutions to boost content discoverability. They are able to read more information from, to automatically read and recognize more information from the documents, automate test extraction, improve its accuracy the more they are used. As any machine learning based solution, these OCR engines are learn more and do their task better the more documents they process. As such, the accuracy of the information that they interpret and the way that they interpret that information is gonna keep improving over time and over usage, which allows us to basically increase the automation capacity of the solutions. And in addition to this, of course, with the rise of the microservice approach and the cloud services solutions, we are able now to incorporate, to embed these OCR, these advanced OCR capabilities into applications, into custom applications, without having to create our own OCR engine or anything of those lines. This, of course, is the case for something like Nintex K2, where we are, in this example, we are going to be using Azure Cognitive Services, the Azure Computer Vision solution, as our OCR tool of choice for this specific scenario that we are going to be showing today. But that doesn't mean that that a solution like Nintex K2 is exclusive or uses exclusively the Azure solution. As Tommy mentioned, thanks to the fact that we have a universally accepted connector and connectors and integration capabilities. K2 can connect with Google Cloud Vision, with Amazon Recognition, even can connect with some more older players like Avis Fine Reader, or even on-premise based solutions, that the client may already have available. Now, with those two components, main components in mind, workflow approval and the OCR engine, let me explain to you a little bit about the challenge, the case that we are going to be reviewing today. This case is extracted with a smaller scope approach that we implemented for one of our clients, for an oil and gas company. In this case, the oil and gas company, our client was facing the challenge that they were manually digitizing and processing invoices, tax statements, and other similar documents. With over 50,000 locations in North America, this meant that this specific client was spending over 100,000 man hours per year in the task of being able to digitize and process this information, either from taxes, from invoices, or from land lease agreements. Our team was able to help this client by leveraging the Nintex approval workflow capabilities in tandem with Azure Computer Vision to create an efficient and automated solution where they simply had to upload the document and pretty much the approval process would be started. The workflow that we are going to be looking at today is a simpler version of that workflow that we deliver for the client. In this case, what we are going to be looking at is as follows. Number one, a document can be received via either a web form, an email, or it can be uploaded to a folder, right? In this case, we have create a web form to simulate the document upload. Number two, once received, the document is automatically sent to the OCR service. That is a process that happens in the backend. After the demonstration, I'm going to show you a little bit of the magic, soft magic in quotes, that happens with the OCR engine. Once the OCR processes the document and sends back a response, then that response is shown in a review screen, in a review visualization, where basically a reviewer, a BPO, can check the information and say, okay, the information is correct, or I need to update, fix some incorrect data, right? After that, once the information is reviewed, it passes to a manager, that the manager is the one that either approves or rejects the process. And usually what happens is that is accompanied, the approval or rejection is accompanied by a notification and via email or the communication channel. How long do these kind of processes take? The implementation of this process take? In this case, keep in mind that we are taking a full advantage of a low-code / process management solution like K2, right? So we are able to speed up these kind of solutions that usually can take anything between 6 months to a year of implementation. We are able to speed up that process. How it usually goes is we spend a week like detailing the requirements, then we spend 2 weeks approximately creating the views in the visualizations in K2 using low-code. Then we spend another extra week or week and a half creating the workflows that are gonna be impacted or affected by those views, but are gonna be executed by those views. And the bigger allotment of time takes place when we have to train the OCR model. As any machine learning based solution, we need, for starters, before we use the solution, we need to provide it with some basic training, with some pattern identification parameters and some initial set of data for the model to be able to understand what it is expected to receive, right? That process, in this case, for this scenario, for the complete scenario that we are going to show you, that process took about 4 weeks. After that, once the OCR model is trained and is providing an acceptable level of confidence in the responses, and with acceptable, we are talking over 90%, we proceed to the delivery of the whole solution in a production environment with the process evaluation, user acceptance, and finally, by week 10, we are entering the hypercare part of the process. As mentioned before, we are talking here about 2.5 months time, while usually these kind of solutions where we have to create multiple screens, we have to receive and process documentation, we have to train the OCR model, tend to go more for the 6 months or 24 to 30 weeks time. So we are talking about a reduction in effort and delivery of approximately about 60%. Now, I don't wanna take too long in this talk, so I'm gonna hand over the control of the meeting to Juan. Juan is gonna show you like the demonstration that we have for today. In that demonstration, as mentioned before, we'll review how Nintex helps us create the workflow creation, the approval and review workflow creation process, the document upload and review views, and finally we are going to showcase a little bit like how the whole process works, right? How will the user perceive the process? Remember that after that we are going to be taking a more behind the scenes look into how the OCR engines play a role in all of these solutions, which is not too visible in the demo that Juan is going to share. Juan, please go ahead.
Thank you, Julio. So happy to be here. I will share with you a process that represents the normal task flow that is carried out when in the middle of the fulfillment of the task, and the review of the information extraction is necessary. Task that is executed by BPO, an external agent that is in charge of this task. So let me share my screen. So a process in Nintex can be raised by multiple external events such as email, new updates in the database, RPA using robots, developed in UiPath Automation Anywhere or Blue Prism, for example. And whatever that is decided, we can select that option here. So for the webinar, we choose select that a new form is created and allow us to enter the new documents. But if we have another condition, we can set that information here, and we can establish the rules that is going to be implemented to launch the entire process. And for this case, like I said, we only use a form that we create. At Nintex, we chose initialize a process for a form. That is a really simple way to start. We only have to create the data that we're going to have at started. So we said the name of the document, the employee name that is going to share that information, some comments, just for tracking the entire info that we have that we want to manage. Once we have the data, the next step is create the form. So we design a view that works for this process, and when it's ready, we have an entire form that works perfectly to launch the entire process. So there are too many forms to launch a form. We can run this form directly in K2, just clicking run, and Nintex is going to charge all the information here. But if we have one external or third-party project, K2 generate automatically a URL that we can use to launch this process. This can be used like in SharePoint or in one CRM or something like that. Like I said before, we only have to put the name of the document. We're going to use task for this, and we can add the name. And we just have to add the tags that we want to use. We charge the entire document using PDF and JPG, TIFF, or whatever kind of extension that we want to use. Just click create, and the process is start like we designed in the workflow. So in this point, the task was created and assigned to the person that we selected. So in this point, we have many options. We can create a specific group, somebody that is in charge to make the reviews, but for this case, I put myself to review this task. Person have many ways to complete one task. One of these is the workspace. That is a web page that allows us to see the task that was assigned to us. The workspace contains all the applications that we can create in Nintex that belongs to our company, and all text that was assigned to us appears there, like in a inbox mail. So here we can see that a new task is created for us. A BPO contract was appear here. And the new review ready to be processed. Let me create one. I'm sorry. I made a mistake and I opened another environment. But here is the task that I created. And one is pending to my review, and I have to complete in case that the accuracy is not correct for one particular field in the task that I create. So the information about the task that I entered to the document appears here, and the entire extraction for this document can be displayed to the left. We set that particular field to be uncorrected in the middle of the extraction, but we can complete the information just clicking the words that left is document, and once I finish it with the review, I just have to click save. In this point, I can see where I am in the middle of the flow of my task. A green line appears that represent what is the point of the task that I am completing, and everything changed or position in the middle of the flow can be displayed in this part. Like you see, I am in the middle of the BPO task. So I just click save. The data was saving, and I only have to click that I approve the document. Once I finish the review, there are so many options that I can implement in the middle of my business process. For example, if I have to establish a quickly payment, I can send this directly to the area in charge of these payments. So I only have to put the next responsible here and establish what is the condition to make the payment. If this payment is more than $50, $100 or something like that, is in charge of somebody, or maybe that it doesn't correspond to my area at particularly. In this case, I can move the task for another people. But once I have the BPO task completed, I receive the manager approval. It's a window that allows me to see the results of the validation and let me approval or reject the information that that somebody reviewed before. Once I have this, I just only have to see the change that I made before is correctly the payment or whatever I decide, and the action that I have to take, approve or reject the document. I just click approve and the test is completed. Here in K2 Nintex, we have many options to use Rosum or another OCR application, but we decided to send the entire document to the API and establish a process that in backend extract the information and put this over our database. So it's more simple, it's more quickly, and is more reusable. That is the part that I want to share with you. Thank you so much. If you have some question, I can answer that.
Thank you, Juan. Now to carry on, I'll share my screen now. Carry on with the presentation. As mentioned before, apologies. As mentioned before, in addition to the brief demonstration that Juan has shared with you, today we also bring some additional examples or scenarios that we have implemented. The intention of the following demonstrations is to share with you in a little bit how the process works, so the OCR process works behind the scene. So I'm going to share with you briefly how the interactions with some of the OCR engines that we use look, how they look. So I'm changing the screens right now. Okay. Give me a second. I apologize. It's not letting me share the proper screen. Okay. Right now, what you are looking at is a little bit of is one of the OCRs, the multiple OCR engines that we are familiar with. This specific OCR, this specific application that I'm showing you is powered by an OCR from Rosen, from a vendor called Rosen. And as you can see, what the OCR does, what the typical OCR intends to do is identify patterns within the documents. In this case, what we are looking at is a solution that is one of our in-house solutions that allows us to process invoices. So as part of the processing of the invoices, the solution recognizes fields like different fields within the document, like the name of the sender of the invoices, number of the invoice, due date for the invoice, and the different fields that or items that are part of the invoice, right? Usually, we implement these kind of solutions, as Juan showed you before, with a component that allows our users to update, modify, or edit the information that the OCR is reading, providing its feedback to the OCR. Like, for example, if the OCR reads this number incorrectly, it didn't. But if the OCR reads this number incorrectly right here, then we will be able, with this solution, we will be able to basically to provide it with modify the number, indicate, okay, this is not a 4, this is a 3, for example. And we can provide that feedback to the OCR, and it will further improve the accuracy of the information if it reads. In addition to this invoice solution, we have, as mentioned before, we have created other solutions. Like, let me show you over here. This is a sample document for some sample documents that we have created for a healthcare case. The purpose of this scenario was to be able to identify or to classify different documents. How are we able to do that? In this case, this engine is the Azure Computer Vision engine, and this engine specifically allows us to predefine a set of fields that are expected within the documents, right? And we define, okay, this is the fields that we are expecting. This is the format of the different fields that we are expecting. And with that information at hand, it can start look for those fields in the different documents. And depending on the pattern of the document and the field that it identifies, it can differentiate between a type of document A, type of or a different type of document B, right? So not only are we able to automatically ingest or digitize information, but we also can use this for classification purposes, as shown here. Let me see if the other one is available. Okay. So finally, over here, we got the engine that we use for the document that for the case that Juan shared today. This is a tax statement, and this is how the process that Juan just showed you works. Once again, we identify different fields within the document and basically read the data, and this data is then pulled into the workflow via the Nintex solutions. Going back to the presentation, as mentioned before, these are some of the scenarios that we wanted to bring today. I think really briefly we have shown you some of these, like some of these cases. Of course, for all of this, full demonstrations of these solutions are available on demand if you wanted to know more about any of these scenarios. Our team is available to help you out, or if you have a different need, if you have a different automation document management need, we are also available for your specific cases to create models that can and solutions that can support your specific cases. At this point, I'd like to open the room for questioning, if there are any questions.
Yeah, do we have any questions from the audience?
No questions at the moment.
All right. So, Julio, I have one question. You know, we talk about the different solutions. We talked about Nintex, you know, the AI components, etc. So, you know, how flexible or how easy would it be to switch out one set of technology for another? Whether, let's say, it's a different type of OCR, or a different AI engine, or a different workflow product. You know, how easy is it to switch those out within the solution?
Switching technology like or OCR provider in a solution is very straightforward, in the sense that is as simple as switching APIs, right? You are either calling an API endpoint from provider A, or you are calling an API endpoint from provider B. That's a matter of a few hours at most. The main challenge in this case, in these scenarios, as I mentioned at the beginning, so I need to complement a little bit, my response is in the training of the solution, right? If you want to use a new solution that is not trained for the necessity that we are currently facing, that training, that setting up the solution to work with good consistency, with reliability, that takes time. That usually, as I mentioned initially takes between 4 to 6 weeks. But changing between solutions is a straightforward process.
Which maybe it's a continuation of the question, or maybe you just answered it. But you know, if we wanted to get another document type in through the system, how quickly would you be able to get you know, the document type, and how many documents would you need to properly train the system?
So let me answer that in two parts. Let's like a new document type. Once again, like parameterizing the document type or parameterizing how the model is going to work, it usually takes about 3 days, 3 to 5 days. But training the model, like making sure that it has a high level of accuracy, that is longer. It takes, once again, between 4 to 6 weeks tops. How many documents? So that really, there is really no minimal answer to that. We can do this, honestly, we can, even though I don't recommend it, we can do this with 5, 10 documents, you know? But the more documents that you provide us for the training, and the more documents you actually put through the process, the more accurate it's gonna be. For example, we have done test cases and scenarios where with about 20 documents, we are getting an accuracy, a consistency of about of reliability of about 70%. That means that the system believes that it is 70% confident that the response is provided is accurate, which is not great, right? But when we go to 100, to the hundreds, to the 100, 200, 300 number, then that 70% starts becoming an 85, 90%. And when we are talking about the 500 to 1,000 level, then that goes up to 95, 96, 97%, right? So it's a matter of how, like, with what percentage of confidence do you feel okay to go ahead with, you know?
Is that a good standard? It's usually 100 documents for 90% and 500 for 95%. Is that a good standard level? I understand that every project has a little bit of,
in the simplest scenarios, what I mean with simple scenarios is if the documents that are forms, right, that are the form times where there are specific fields and a specific criteria, recognition criteria for each field, yes. But the more complex, the more non-structured a document is, the harder it's gonna be, and the bigger the sample we are gonna need. For example, we did a case where we were talking about recognizing diagnostic images, right? And that took, I mean, even we tested with about 300 documents, and we were barely reaching the 85%, right? So it depends on the type of document, but for most cases, yeah, the 100 is a good number to get the training started.
So if a client came to us and said they had a use case with a certain type of document, an industry type document, and they said they had 100 documents, it would take us probably a week to configure the system for that document, and then another 4 to 6 weeks to train it. So within, let's say, roughly 6 weeks, 2 months, somewhere in that range, we could have that document type at, in the 90 to 95% completion ratio. Is that a fair statement? And we typically, yeah. and is it our people that are training them, or is it their people that are training the document?
So yeah, it's a fair statement. About 4 to 6 weeks of training should get us to 90%, right? In regards to being our people or their people, what we usually do is we do a couple of initial sessions, like where they explain to us what they capture from the document, what they look for in the document, right? And with that information, we train our people to identify the patterns, and that is to put in a way the knowledge that is transferred to the model, right? So it's usually our people, the ones that are those forces with doing the initial training.
So it sounds like that's like if I just do my math, it sounds like that's a 25 to maybe 40 on the top side. Somewhere between a $25,000 and $40,000, probably $30,000 average project to get it established, and then there's a monthly fee for processing after that. Is that correct?
I would say that's the baseline, Tommy. Keep in mind that here we are not including the screens that we mentioned before, right? Mm-hmm. There is at least a couple of weeks work creating the interaction screens that we need to create, that some of which one share with the demo. Right, but that's a good baseline, like to get an initial POC, initial proof of concept out there. Yeah, it's a good baseline to get started.
Okay, good. Ted, do we have any other questions that came in?
No.
I have one real quick. As a developer working on Nintex, how does that compare to, say, a UiPath or a Blue Prism, as far as flexibility and capability? And how long does it take to do a typical, if you think about a typical process, how long does it take as far as development time for a typical process like that?
Are entirely different working with BPM or RPA. a solution that works in different way in the middle of a business process. If you want control directly the flow of your business, you must use BPM. It is useful, it's quickly and it's faster, and everybody can use this for create one specific scenario in the middle of your work. So it's great. But if you have some process that need to be automatically and you have a particular platform and that you have to enter information or scrapping in another web page, it's useful take in account RPA. So at Essential are both really good frameworks to have in some companies, and the ROI of these platforms grows. Meanwhile, you are using that, and when you have the experience to improve your company, implement that technologies.
From an ease of use, I know RPA, UiPath, WebPrism. WebPrism is a little bit more of a developer tool. UiPath maybe a little bit simpler for users, and so it depends on whether a client wants to do an enterprise or kind of or business enabled, which tool we usually select. But from what I'm curious is how those are pretty easy tools to use, the RPA tools, for a power user developer to go in and start using them pretty quickly. What about Nintex? Is it similar, or does it take a little bit longer time for a developer to learn it?
Yeah, it's close to be the same. Was designed for be a low-code platform that can be used by citizen developers, the normal people that works in the middle of the functionalities, the normal day-to-day. So have the step-by-step that you can follow, and is really descriptive with everything, icons and logos, information, everything. So both are really useful and simple.
Well, I know, and Nintex has the BPM K2 now that they've moved K2, so they have the BPM, and then they're known as the Microsoft workflow tool, right? And they tout themselves as the RPA. Now they're doing RPA. Is there, and I know they have some team connectors, so I'm thinking about productivity suites. If you have team and you want to, team's going to become your new SharePoint. You're going to store your documents there. You're going to have your forms there. You're going to have your Power BI there. You're going to have your Power Apps there. So is Nintex playing on being the BPM workflow engine to tie all of that together?
Yes, there are no difference. Nintex have connection with SharePoint in the same way that Power Apps have. There are no difference. Maybe I think the calls maybe or the infrastructure can be different in some points, but you cannot notice that like a citizen one. You have to be a technical or something like that. For a citizen in general, there are no difference.
How does Nintex play in with Azure? And specifically, I saw their, we were K2 partners, and then when Nintex bought them, now we're becoming Nintex partners. So I just saw their catalog of, kind of pre-built services. Are those built in Azure for Azure?
Well, they're not specifically built for Azure, but Nintex actually K2 actually plays pretty well with Power Platform, believe it or not. Like for example, as you can imagine, Power Platform being Microsoft's native solution is really good to automate things related to Dynamics, to SharePoint, to any kind of Microsoft ecosystem solution, right? So what Nintex does, and what K2 do really well, is they let Power Platform do what Power Platform does best. And instead it says, you know what, I can integrate with Power Platform, so let's create this part of the process of the automation that you are going to do with Dynamics or something like that in Power Platform, And what I'll do is I'll connect to the Power Platform automation, and I'll call the Power Platform automation, get the result, and make it and I'll make it part of the whole workflow, right? So so as these kind of solutions go into the market and evolve, what we are seeing, Tommy, is a lot of strong integrations, right? Not a crazy competitive edge, but instead understanding what each tool can do best, what each tool benefits the most from, using integrations to basically each give each tool the feature or the action that it can take care of the most.
Good. Okay. So that's go ahead.
As I show you before, K2 Nintex always generate a runtime URL that you can use in whatever you want. Power platforms, RPA, or whatever do you have a tier company? I don't know, a tier company solution that you decide.
Isn't that the joy of working from home these days? You never know construction next. All right, guys. I think that's good. I think that'll wrap it up. But it does. I'm pretty excited about that, and I'm pretty excited about the tool in general, because when you start talking about Power Apps with Power BI, you start thinking about Nintex, and you start thinking SharePoint as it morphs into Teams. I'm telling you, Teams is going to be your new SharePoint. I mean, it sounds like you could build some pretty sophisticated tools with low code, no code type suite of tools. So, I think that's an area of focus for our company. I guess my question is Julio, the last question is, what have you seen out there from the marketplace? Are enterprise clients using this suite of tools to develop, enterprise applications in a sense? Enterprise-enabled applications, maybe a better way to say it.
Yeah, what we are seeing, Tommy, is that clients and companies are focusing more on agile, but not in terms of agile methodologies, but in terms of agile delivery. How soon can I get a solution, right? How soon can I see value? Due to that, and due to the fact that these kind of solutions, as we mentioned in the previous webinar and this webinar, these kind of solutions can offer you like enterprise level capabilities in a matter of even 4, 6, 10 week stops, right? So what we are seeing is clients starting to adopt with a low initial investment, starting to adopt these solutions with specific cases, seeing the value of those solutions, seeing how they are seeing almost immediate return of investment, and then further enhancing this low code, this business performance automation, business process automation solutions usage into their business, right? Including more and more processes. We are talking about that companies that just started with this a year ago, having already over 100 processes implemented, right? Why? Because again, these kind of solutions, these kind of small gains, but big benefits is what low code approaches provide, basically.
Well, I think that's a good summary. I think we'll just end there. That's encouraging. So, Ted, unless there's another question from the audience, I think we'll wrap it up there.
No questions.
All right. Well, again, signing off from Orlando, and Juan and Julio will sign off from Medellin. We look forward to talking to you soon. Please let us know if you'd like to see full demos of what you saw today. Thank you and have a great day.